Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Biztainment Weekly. This week, super excited. I got to interview Dr. Charles Corprew, who you're about to listen to. And man, let me tell you, if you are looking for some information on being a founder and starting up your company, or if you're looking to understand what the future may look like, or you want to tap into some of those innovative thoughts that you may have, this is the show to listen to. I mean, he unraveled so much good stuff, and of course, he also mentions his podcast that we want to encourage all of our listeners to go and check out. So, hey, look, thanks so much for tuning in. Next is Dr. Charles Corprew. All right, hey everyone, welcome to Biztainment Weekly. As always, I am your host, Scott Janney. Super excited to talk to you guys. But more importantly, excited to talk about our guest that we have, Mr. Dr. Charles Corprew in the house. What's happening?
What's good? What's going on, Scott? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Doing great. Well, as you can probably see, I'm in a kind of a weird background here. I'm actually in the enjoyment of my camper here, getting ready to go camping. So this should be fun. The funny part is my house is right outside. So the only reason why I'm not over there is because my kids are in there. So this actually is a place for me to do this. But man, I am looking forward to the show. But we like to always do the first thing, which is our LinkedIn moments. And we're going to roll right into that. And so here we go. I'm going to cue them up right now. So in our LinkedIn moments, we always like to pull up positive feeds, positive posts of friends and family or people that I like on LinkedIn. And it gets really exciting. But in this particular one, this is near and dear to us because my wife and I are part of a charity called For Kids, and it helps kids in poverty. And we just recently did a walk. It was a couple-mile walk, and I didn't realize right beside me was actually Lou himself. So Lou Haddad is the CEO and president of Armada Hoffler, and I got to get to know him and talk to him. And he's actually on this LinkedIn moment. It reads, "We're proud to have Lou Haddad and his wife, Mary. She's wonderful too. Featured by the Virginia Pilot for the amazing work their foundation has contributed to the community for the past 23 years. So it's super exciting, and to see them, and they're featured on the Pilot Online or Virginia Pilot. So we're, one of the other things, and it's funny being in a camper. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing it too bad, but I got a helicopter flying in overhead, so that'll be a first for the show. So well, that's good. I'm in a flight pattern. Didn't even think about that being a camper. They don't make these things too soundproof. We'll have to talk to them about making it podcast proof in a camper. All right, and then the next one I have up is Kelly Till. She is the president and publisher of the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and she posted, "I'm excited to be nominated for the Heart of Leaders of Impact campaign. As part of this year's class of change makers, we will be raising much needed funds for the innovative research and life-saving initiatives of the American Heart Association." Can't do any better than that. We know that we need that help. So good job. Way to go, Kelly. And then my last one, this is just for a good friend of mine. I introduced them over to the 7x7 Startup Studios, and they are actually going to be presenting, it looks like, in front of 1 million cups. And I'm excited just to share with them that it's called Tag It, Brand It. And looks like they're going to be presenting Brand Box. And yeah, I'm just super excited to see them continue to grow and expand their business. So congratulations to them. And of course, 1 million cups is doing great things. And 7x7 Startup Studios, again, near and dear to me because they gave me free space. So can't say enough nice about them. So. All right, well, that wraps up our LinkedIn moment, and now the best time of the show. It's all about you, Charles. So we're gonna kick this off, and I can't be more excited. So I just want to give a little background and context here. Charles, you are the CEO and founder of What's Your Revolution Consulting. We're going to dive into that. You've also been with Camelback Ventures, which is near and dear to me, and with Magazine Jukebox, because we've been raising capital, and it's always good to get some insight on what's going on in the community and raising capital. Seems that everybody has a great idea, thinks that they should get money, and that's not always the case. So we're going to dive into that. So, but anyways, Charles, how you doing, man?
I'm cool. I'm cool. It's this weather's been the fall has come too fast here in Virginia, and I'm a water boy. I love the heat in the summertime, and I got on too many clothes here in like early October. So on my way to New Orleans tomorrow to see some friends and see my Saints play on
Oh, there you go.
Sunday. So yeah,
Oh
I'm definitely.
man. Oh
Oh,
boy.
see, look at that. It was
I,
it, it was serendipitous.
that's right. Well, look, I'm lying to you. That's actually Nansman Suffolk Academy's logo. But everybody
No,
says,
but
"Hey, is that the
it's a
Saints?"
fleur-de-lis, it's a fleur-de-lis, you know what I'm saying? So,
That's
it
right.
was serendipitous that I'm on the show, I'm going to New Orleans to see the Saints
That's
play.
right. That's
So,
right.
yeah, definitely happy about that. So, I am good. I'm also mourning the loss of my patriarch. My father died a couple of weeks ago, but I
I'm
wanna
sorry to
give a
hear that.
shout out to him. Amazing father, amazing person in this world, did so much work, civil rights activist, war veteran, war hero, administrator, taught and was actually a principal for 35 years. So yeah, I am just allowing myself to sit in his grace and presence, and that his spirit is still with me. So I always want to say that. So shout out to Charles Jr. and all that he seeded into me in
Yeah.
my
Well,
51 years of life.
we honor Charles Jr. and we appreciate him for bringing us you. So that's
Thank you,
yeah,
thank you so
we, we
much.
we appreciate that, and we appreciate his service and sacrifice for our country. That's for sure. So
Yeah,
we
he's an amazing man, amazing man.
that's awesome. And unfortunately, I know that all too well. I lost my father 10 years ago, and I know what
Sorry
it's
to
like
hear that.
that loss. But they raise us right, and then they
Mhm.
send us on their way. And the best gift I think you
Yeah,
were able to give your dad, and I was able to give mine, is being able to tell them it's okay. We're
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
we're gonna keep moving, and we're gonna be all right. You set us up right, so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
always a good thing. Well,
yeah.
man, I
I
am
totally
sorry to hear
agree,
that,
Scott.
but I will tell you, I completely sympathize and agree with you that I feel like it went summer winter. I mean, here in Hampton Roads, there was barely a fall. I'm reading reports like where I'm heading to up in the mountains. It's going to be in the like 30s at night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be
Mm-mm,
freezing. Yeah, so
mm-mm,
I'm
mm-mm.
not too into that. So
Uh-uh.
I do appreciate leaves changing, but with the storms that we had these past couple weeks, that I mean, it feels like all the leaves are gone already.
Gone.
They just went
Look.
poof, gone.
I need to go. Look, I know I'm gonna need to go clean out my backyard at my beach house,
That's right.
because there are too many trees.
Yeah,
But I'm also I just want to say that I'm very happy to be here with you. Think a lot of
appreciate
very
that.
very highly of you and your team and what you've been building with Magazine Jukebox. I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurs who are thinking about what it means to have impact in the world and to change and disrupt. That we use that word time and time again, but not everything is disruptive.
Right,
And disruption is when you're changing how folks are actually interacting with each other and interacting with the world. And
right.
so I'm a big believer in disruptors. I even, even the little things, Scott, in our days, you're always looking for something to make your life a little bit more efficient or a little bit more enjoyable. And when you can disrupt old things, when the traditional things of life are actually moved away and we're actually adopting and imbibing new traditions
Right.
because of technology, because of smart minds like yourself, it's a wonderful thing. I think we have to continue to move in that space and to actually accept like the new things that are coming for us. You think about Facebook
Good.
in 2005 and where it is today, and how Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, and I think about all the technologies that allow me to be a healthier person. I was watching something yesterday where there's a portable EKG, or EKG
Ooh,
now, where with two fingers I can know my heart rate and gives me six different indicators of my heart health. That's
yeah.
a wonderful thing because we know how hard it is or how terse it is to really have a quality medical visit.
Hmm.
And so to be able to take in your numbers and to understand them allows us to be better, more effective, more healthier humans. So I'm in love with entrepreneurs and what they're doing in this world to allow us to live better. So, and experience different things like Magazine Jukebox.
Well, isn't it crazy? Like when you think of the cars that you see like roll out on the road today, right? That they come out, and the cars coming out in 2023. These were in production, and creative minds were designing these cars 5 6 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's like, how did they even know that that's going to be a look and style? that the consumers are going to want, and that's I attribute a lot to an entrepreneurial spirit, that you have to be a forward thinker. You have to be, but unfortunately a lot. So I call it the entrepreneurial syndrome, where sometimes entrepreneurs come out, and because they are the founders, or because they started something, that they think that they are the end result, or that they are the answer. And the thing that I find, and or at least has led to, I think, and you could just tell. I mean, since I've known you, you can tell that you just come from such a symbol of, or from such a place of humbleness. And
Mhm.
I've always gravitated towards a sense of humbleness, because I think that entrepreneurs are creative, they're thought provoking, and they will take us into the future. We just have to always remember our humble beginnings, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it's but it is incredible, and I love that you like that and you think that way, because I mirror it with you, and I think that there's going to be so much more that's going to come out here in the next 10 years. you
Mhm.
know I maybe you agree or maybe you disagree with me on this, but a lot of people thought that, like, hey, we've seen the end of, like, innovativeness, and it kind of
Mhm.
came to this
Mhm.
cap standstill. And I'm like, man, you just watch it, it's just getting started. we're
It's
we're
just
just
getting
getting.
started. No, Scott, I totally agree, and, just going back to tag onto what you're saying, um, innovators think about, good innovators actually listen. And so you're thinking about what was happening 5 or 6 years ago, but you listening and watching to trends, right? You think about the historical trends of, good innovators are actually looking backwards, and they're actually listening as well. And so they're listening to consumers. And so part of what's a revolution consulting at this stage of its ideology is that I get to be able to work with CEOs as they think about their innovation, as they think about what are the next disruptions that we need to see in various industries across the world. And that is a wonderful thing to be able to, at this stage of my life, to be able to disseminate wisdom and knowledge in a bi-directional relationship. So coaching, and leadership development is not a one-sided thing. It often is an opportunity to meet in the middle,
Mm,
where wisdom actually has the ability to catch fire. And so you think about that. Wisdom has the ability to catch fire, to catapult both people. I just happen to be a little bit older and longer in the tooth, and have experience from education to tech to consulting to venture capital and nonprofit. All these things that allow me to be unicornish, as we say a little bit. Um, but it's interesting having the ability to learn from the CEOs that I coached, that all of a sudden in this I'll call it, in this learning vacuum that we're in, we have now the ability to take their ventures to a different level, because thought partnership is one of those things that we often don't get as CEOs, right? We the
right.
person or persons that are going to allow us to actually open up our mind, because they see the vision a little bit differently. And so that's the interesting thing. When you can see the vision one way, but sometimes you need to peer left or right or up or down, right? And sometimes that direction is not there until someone points you in that direction. They allow you to be
Right.
they're a compass for you that you maybe didn't have, or a rudder for you that you need at the time. And so that's what I love doing, is working with companies and allowing them, or them allowing me to be their GPS for a little while. And that's what I love doing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let me
that's
just say this
awesome.
last
And
point.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just this last point is, good innovators also know how to listen to their customers. And that's the thing. They know how to listen to their customers, and really, really thinking about what's next for their customers. So it's a it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, look, you're spot on, and I mean, and this world way better than I do, because I'm coming from such a different perspective, because
Mhm.
I was raising capital, and growing, trying to grow our company and scale it, and I learned a very valuable lesson from first time you and I met to now, which raising capital and revenue is way different than scaling.
Mhm.
And so, you have to, sometimes you have to scale before you see profitability,
Mhm.
and that's a hard thing to do, because you're asking for people to invest in something that's burning, they call it a burn rate, that you're
Mhm.
burning money, and then you're asking them to trust and believe in you that you're going to get it to a point where you're no longer burning, but then you're making money. And that's a hard, it's a hard thing to do. And so, and I think a lot of times, founders need to sometimes put themselves in the investor's shoes and
All the time.
really listen to what they're saying. You gave me some sound advice. You probably don't even remember it, but you gave me some sound advice. You said, even if you get a no, make sure you're listening to the investor, because what you're going to gather from them is still valuable. Maybe you didn't get a dollar, but maybe you're getting something that's much more valuable that's going to get you to $5. And so, that was really helpful to me, and especially, especially in at that such an early stage. And just for our
Mhm.
listeners and viewers to understand, I met Charles when we were, man, I think we were a napkin sketch still. I mean, I don't even think we had, maybe we had an MVP, but we had nothing that was really usable. And, to go from there to where we are,
Mhm.
now has been incredible. So talk to me about, the VC world. What's some
Mhm.
good advice you could give to, maybe early stage and, entrepreneurs, founders, that maybe, and some, I'm going to ask you to kind of go there, give some hard things that they need to
Mhm.
understand, because too many times people like to sugarcoat. And I know that's not you, but
No,
there's too
that's not
many
me at all.
people out there try to sugarcoat this stuff, and I'm like, I remember one guy, he was just like so mad at this VC, and I was just like, why are you mad at him? I was like, it's their money. I was like, let them do, they're allowed to do, they worked hard to get there. Let them do what they're going to do with their money, but learn from it. But anyways,
Mhm.
what's some hard things you can help out these startup founders?
Right. So, just so people know, on the other side of this, like I said, there's a unicornish aspect to me. And so I worked with Camelback Ventures for 4 years. Number one, I ran our accelerator. And so I ran our accelerator for 2 years, and Camelback Ventures was started by Aaron Walker. So just to give you a little background, Aaron Walker, wonderful, brilliant, brilliant mind when it comes to venture capital and thinking about what it means to find untapped entrepreneurs, typically women entrepreneurs of color, non-binary entrepreneurs, and seeding resources, capital, community, coaching, a number of different tangible things that entrepreneurs could then take in and feed into their ventures. And so I ran our accelerator. I vetted almost 1,000 ventures over 4 years. Was able to then work with the ventures that we brought into Camelback Ventures at a very, very intimate level, knowing the CEOs, knowing their companies, really doing an in-depth dive and helping them scale their companies. After 2 years, we realized because of the pandemic that many of our ventures were going out into the world and they still needed fuel. And I say fuel, still needed coaching, they still needed capital, they still needed a community. And what I thought was, who are the partners that I needed to bring in to help us do this work post our accelerator? So I created our second tier of investments. And over the 2 years, the latter 2 years while I was at Camelback Ventures, working with VCs, working with other investors, working with angels, working with our founders and other coaches, we were able to seed so much into them. So my knowledge base comes from 4 years of really being intimate with venture capitalists, a venture capital firm, companies, CEOs, and their teams. So I have a very, very, very vast knowledge of what happens. So in short, a couple of things I want to say, Scott. One, everybody gets caught up in the sexiness of venture capital. It sounds good, right? I'm venture capital backed. I've curated this venture capital company. But does everybody need venture capital? And everybody need venture capital? One, uh, and really, have you created something that is worthwhile where venture capital is actually going to be an accelerant for you? And so there are good companies out there that don't need venture capital, right? You're creating something, a product that actually generates revenue. Revenue to me is a wonderful, wonderful thing, Scott, because what happens if you're generating revenue, why do you need to bring other capital in? And so that's the interesting thing. And not every company is a venture backed opportunity, right? Because actually, you have to understand venture capital is a game. and I want people to understand that, is that the person behind the money wants to return that money. I'm not giving that money for free.
Right.
I want to return. So there's risk with that, right? And so I try to do everything as an investor to mitigate that risk. But there's still a risk, and I still want you to return my money. I just don't want like dollar for dollar back. I want $10 for every dollar that I give you, right? I want $20 for every dollar that I give you. So ask yourself, and what that means is that I want equity in your company. So that means that you lose some of your, your ability to say what's going on in the company. And so really, really think about that. Two, ask yourself this question. Is this product is it disrupting something in some industry? And can you build something that no one else can take from you, right? Or if you're doing that, can you take a lion's share of the market space, right? So it's okay to have competitors, but can you take a lion's share of the market space? Or we understand soda. We know that there's Coke and Pepsi and Sprite, right?
Right.
But Coke still has the lion's share of the market space when it comes to soda. Pepsi still makes a lot of money. Sprite, well, Sprite is a Coke affiliate, but thinking about that, can you take a substantial share of marketplace? If you can't,
Right.
maybe this is not the market for you.
Yeah.
The third thing for me is when I talk to CEOs and really want to, if I'm going to make an investment, right? How obsessed are you with this? How obsessed? When I talk to you, Scott, every time I talk to you, it's about Magazine Jukebox. It's not about anything. How you doing, Charles? We have the pleasantries, but it's about Magazine Jukebox and what you're doing. The last time we talked, you were about to sell a car, right, to make some capital. That's obsession. That's obsession, Scott. That's what I want to see in a founder, that you're obsessed about this product, that nothing else, right, is actually that you're tunnel vision and that you're obsessed. If you're not obsessed, if there are other things, then I'm like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a level of obsession, because what that does, Scott, it means that obsession is that you're going to go out and do everything to make sure that your product is ready to go and that your customer, right, that you know exactly what your customers are doing, right? When I say customers are doing, because it's not just about them wanting your product, it is what are they doing and how can you integrate this into what they're already doing? And that's key. My listeners listen to my show because it integrates into what they're already doing. If they want to think about what is empowerment, what does growth look like, how to be the best version of themselves, right? They want to be healthier, they want to be more spiritual. They listen to my show because I give them practical tips, right? With the guests that I have on my show, that they go out and say, I can integrate them right now. I listen to the What's Your Revolution show because I can integrate things in my life that allow me to do things right now.
Love that.
Does your product allow people to integrate what you have into what they're already doing? If so, wonderful, right? It makes it easier. Nobody wants to go out and say, you know what? Well, this makes my life a little bit harder. We don't do that anymore, right? We like hard. It sounds really good, but at the end of the day, I don't want to have to flip through 6 different accounts, right, to pay my bills. That's my
Right.
problem right now, Scott. So I can get on a soapbox, but those are the things right now. And the last thing, Scott, for entrepreneurs out there, relationships are key. I'm I'm
Yeah.
not going to invest in something that I don't know who you are. We haven't spent time, right? Relationships, right? The key ingredient or the key currency is relationships. If we
Yeah.
don't have that relationship and I don't really know you, right? And I don't know how your values align with what I'm trying to do, then there's a problem and I'm more reluctant to invest.
Right.
Relationships. You may not get money for a year, but if you started building that relationship early, you may get more than what you think. So I'll stop there, Scott.
But I mean, there's so much that I need to, that's an onion that I just got to peel one layer at a time here, because, it's so true. And to our listeners, the thing that I just I want to drive home is relationships. You're absolutely spot on, because even, so I have this saying in my life, and most people know that I'm a pretty God fearing man, but I believe that, sometimes we like to pray, and a lot of times we're praying for a yes, like, oh, I see this car, like, oh, come on, God, I want this car, like, just give me this car. And then all of a sudden you don't get the car, and then you're really confused. You're like, wait a second, you knew what I wanted, why didn't you listen to me? And then we forget that God's no is just as powerful as a yes.
Hmm.
And so we
Yes.
tend to forget that. And so these relationships, just because I have a great relationship with you, Charles, or another investor, doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get money. It doesn't mean I'm going to raise capital. But what it does mean is that I'm going to be able to come to you and say, "Hey, Charles, these are the hard parts that I'm hitting. Can I get
Mhm.
some advice from you? Can you help me out with
Yes.
this?"
Yes.
And
Yes.
because I can have the coolest product, the most scaling product, but if it's not something that aligns in that VC's or that angel's, a repertoire, so to speak, to in where they're trying to go, then it's always going to be a no. So to understand that and work with that, I think is extremely valuable. And you just hit that nail right on the head, and I appreciate that. And in the industry, I was telling you this off the air, and you're here. It's a hard time too right now for everybody. It's a hard
Yeah.
time for VCs. It's a hard time for angels. They're, at the end of the day, you guys are equally as human as we are, and
Mhm.
so so one of the things that I want to talk about, there's this word floating around which is called powder money, and they're talking a lot about how there's this almost this, hey, I'll promise you $100,000, but then the $100,000 never arrives, and it was just this powder money that is all earmarked but doesn't hit. But what society doesn't know is that, well, maybe that that's the money that was earmarked for it, they found out something in due diligence, or maybe
Yeah.
they found out
Mhm.
something, maybe that person did something crazy. I talked about this on the last show. I think it's just incredible that I find so many angels and VCs don't have the resources necessarily to run credit checks or to run
Mhm.
background checks on who they're investing in. And I just find that to be extremely mind-blowing, because I'm sitting here going like, what happens if you just invested in someone who, committed a homicide 20 years ago, and they have, they have this horrible rap sheet, and they filed bankruptcy 3 times, and you're just going on a whim that this person you think is someone you want to, and you want to invest in. So it's hard, and I think that startups and founders need to know that. And I come from a very unique perspective because I'm a business owner first, and then I became, this is the first company I ever started from the ground up. I've
Mhm.
always run, on the coattails of others, like, whether it be insurance. I've seen other people be successful in insurance, so I just got to replicate what they were doing. But in
Right.
jukebox, like you said, a disruptor, we nobody was doing what we're doing, and now there's
Mhm.
some other people out there doing, similar to what we're doing, but we've led the charge. We have huge stake in the market now, and we're continuing to grow that market. And I just find it really, fascinating. Well, and I know I could talk to you forever, Charles. So I gotta start wrapping this up a little bit. But yeah, it's I love that you said that, and maybe that's why you and I enjoy doing podcasts so much, because it's a sense
Mhm.
of connectivity that we
Mhm.
get with consumers, and or I mean entrepreneurs and founders, but also as you and I continue to embed ourselves in our ecosystems, and we
Mhm.
encourage everyone to, to embed yourself in your community, embed yourself in your ecosystem, because you'll be surprised the amount of talent you will find right literally in your backyard. And those people in your backyard are the ones that you want to help out, that you want to bring up and encourage. But we are also very fortunate that in a time of technology that we can also connect with those who are in other states. And I can only imagine the amount of technology that's being used right now in Florida for helping people save lives and
Oh yeah.
and all these things.
Yeah.
So it's just, we just live in a really incredible time. But as I like to always say, the best is yet to come. That's for sure. So
Yeah. I definitely
but
agree.
Charles, look, man, like I said, I can talk to you forever, and but unfortunately, our show doesn't allow for forever. So this has been really great. And what I would like to do is I want to make sure I give you some time. Like, what are some things that we can help you out with, or what are some of our listeners? What are some of the things that you would like to drive home to them? And also, if you want to give a shout out to your website for listeners, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we will
Mhm.
we'll also plug that on ours.
No worries. Look, the biggest thing, Scott, is I've been asking this question, "What's your revolution?" for the last 11 years, and I think it's the most thought-provoking question of one's life, right? You think about the work that you're doing with Magazine Jukebox, the work that you've been doing. When you ask and answer, "What's your revolution?" you're really thinking about how you wanna transform yourself, how you wanna transform your communities, how you wanna transform the world, and it's such an interesting thing because, people don't think about, like, I want to like, revolution is jarring. It's it is cataclysmic. But that's if we want to grow, Scott, if we want to be the best versions of ourselves, if we want to start disruptive companies, we have to revolt and evolve into something different. But you have to understand, you have to ask yourself that question. What is the revolution? And then how do I revolt and evolve into the person that will actually fulfill this revolution? So
Mm,
I get to ask, I get to ask this question to the most prolific men of color in the country, artists, activists, athletes, politicians, authors that are doing amazing things in the world, that are saying, you know what, I thought about my revolution, right? I thought about writing this book of that really thinks about how do we make different choice points in our life. I thought about this revolution, and I started a church, right? Or I thought about my revolution, and I want to be an actor on Grey's Anatomy or Station 19. I thought about this revolution, and I wanted to be a pollster so I could help President Obama get elected, right? Things like that. And I'm so honored to be able to interview these men and some women who are doing disruptive things in the world. And so I want people to go listen to the podcast. Go hear folks that are amazing people that give stories and tips and tidbits and theories and philosophies on how to revolutionize your life. And I'm just a conduit. I have a platform that allows people to tell this story, to motivate folks, right? To allow them to imbibe information that they may not get on a regular basis. It's right there. So you can find the What's a Revolution show on any podcast platform. Just Google that. You can also Google Charles Corprew. It's right there. It's the first thing that comes up. I've been associated with this for the last 11 years, so I'm happy that Charles Corprew, Dr. Charles Corprew, and What's a Revolution are married to each other. And so it is a wonderful thing to do. Um, as well as if you're a CEO thinking about how to scale a company, how to scale a new venture, please contact me at Charles. I actually see Corprew at wyrevolution.com. And I'm happy to help you think about what it means to grow and scale a venture. Tremendous wisdom and knowledge, and a wonderful, wonderful network of folks that I can lead you to. So that's me.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And you, you tapped on one thing that I just have to mention, and this was a byproduct of what we created, and you just reminded me. But when I started Magazine Jukebox, I didn't realize um, you know, how difficult it was for the Black and Brown community to get publications out there,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize how underserved they were in that community. And that's actually a huge passion of ours now, is to help with creating a way in which we can help that community and Hispanic community get their publications out and circulated. And that was a byproduct of what we were creating. We didn't set out that way, but we realized quickly that that is something that needs to be addressed, and we've now made it a mission. So we're
Yeah, I
continually
appreciate
reaching
that.
out to those publishers that are trying to get their brains out, and we're trying to bring them onto our platform. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and I hope that people will come and listen to you like we have, and come and talk to you. You're very approachable. I mean, since the day I met you, and so look, now I've got to roll. I've got to turn this off, but I've got to go into the pick your poison question. So I know my producer's going to cue up some music for us, and he's probably already telling me it's time to wrap this up like a present. But okay, so Charles, here we go. If you had your choice, who would you be, Batman or Robin?
Oh, definitely Batman. Definitely
Batman.
Batman. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Robin. I think Robin. He was like that little sneak attack, man. He let Batman get in all the trouble, and then he would come in and take him out. But you're right, though, in the sense Robin was also the one who was always like taking hostages. He never got Batman.
Always. Look, Batman's personality, his dark past, turning your pain into purpose. That's it. His revolution was to make sure that his pain was going to be moved in a more positive manner. That's why I like Batman.
All right, now I'm with you. I think I would choose Batman too, but that's also probably the leader in me. I just want to be at the front, so maybe that's what it is. But okay, next last question here. This one could be funny. I mean, it depends on how you answer this. But last meal, what would it be? You had to choose.
Oh man, my last meal. I love my mother dearly. She does not cook as much as she used to. Um, But every time I would come home from New Orleans, baked chicken wings, sweet potatoes, greens, and her homemade rolls, man. They were just like, it was always waiting for me as, when I got home. And that's how even if my father didn't know I was coming home, he knew something was going on if she was cooking and that was the meal. He was like, Chuck's coming home. And she'd be like, how do you know? He's like, because you cooking that same meal, his favorite meal. So that's what I would want my last meal to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a mom who did microwave meals, so I didn't get that growing up. So pop ramen was probably our food of choice. But
oh wow!
But now my wife has converted me, and she is a crock pot connoisseur. So I would have to go with her. She has this like southwestern chicken crock pot meal that she does, and give me that, and I'm good. So I'm done after that.
Southwest chicken chili. This was white bean chicken chili. That sounds good.
That's right. All right. Hey, Charles, thanks so much. We appreciate you. It's been a great show. And, we're looking forward to what's all to come, man. Best is yet to come.
Yeah. And same to you. I look forward to your continued growth and scale, man. And thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for this opportunity to be on your show. I look forward to hearing the show.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it will be aired here soon.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.